You're listening to the Investor Agent Nation podcast, empowering agents and investors to collaborate effectively and grow their businesses symbiotically. Your hosts, Randy Zimnock and Eric Gross, share real-life case studies, trending tactics, and expert strategies that have helped them to accomplish over $1 billion in sales volume. Whether you're a seasoned agent looking to expand your business or an investor seeking to optimize your returns, you're in the right place. This is the Investor Agent Nation podcast.
One of the first things that I want to talk about with direct mailers is going to be the riches are in the niches with direct mailers. So I get a ton of investors who always reach out and they go, hey, I'm going to pull a list. It's going to be absentee owners. I'm going to go ahead and start sending out mailers. There's 30,000 that I can find records. So I'm going to go ahead and blast them out and I'll start handling the phone calls. And I go, you and literally every other investor in Cincinnati are going to be hitting absentee owners. It's the top, like it's the easy picking. Everybody goes for that. Absentee owners. I'd love to hit the address. So we always kind of discuss, maybe think about where there's another pain point. For some absentee owners, it is a pain point, but what else is there? So there's a investor in the area who he looks for properties that have been transferred in the past couple of years. So in the past year or two, and they have tax liens on the property. So typically it's an inherited property and there's tax liens that are on it. He goes ahead and sends mailers. Then once he gets a phone call from him, he goes, I don't know if you know this or not, but you own the property on 123 Main Street. It says here that you have 15,000 in tax liens. Were you even aware you owned this property? No, I had no clue. Didn't know I owned it. You know, maybe inherited it, or yeah, I did know it was owned by my aunt. She passed away, got inherited to me, just didn't know what to do with it. Then he goes, I'll pay you $15,000. I'll pay your tax liens off. I'll give you $10,000. We'll just move forward. Now our prices are a lot smaller. I know Randy's probably like $25,000 for a property, like sign me up, but it's riches in the niches with direct mailers. You are trying to hit the list that nobody's hitting and that there's actually a pain point that is going to work out. If you have somebody who is living in their home and you're sending out direct mailers, the EDMM, every door, or EDDM, every door direct mailing is really expensive, and 90% of people don't want to move. 90% of people's houses don't need work. There's no motivation. So you're trying to find the motivation and you're trying to hit them at the right time. So we talk with our investors and try and come up with some creative lists that we can pull. And I actually have some examples right here too that I'll do in a second. And then Randy, if you want to jump in at any point, let me know. I can kind of see if.
Yeah, so pull that up. So what I'm hearing from you is like you guys like to layer things on, not just let's just do absentee owners, but maybe how about we do absentee owners and find the ones that are behind on payments or taxes or things like that. So it's a deeper kind of layer filter of the list. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So instead of sending out like 30,000 mailers a month and spending a ton of money on your market spend, and maybe 10% of those people are actually going to be people interested in selling, we would rather have a really like dialed in record. And like data for us as investors and as agents, data is like the most important thing you can have. So if your data is really bad and you're sending out mailers to what you think is good data, but it's not, it's a waste of money. So data is actually like the gold in this business. So finding a site where you can pull the really good information, or you can get their real address or their real phone number so that you can do those touches, but also just making sure that if me and every other investor in Cincinnati are hitting absentee owners, then you're really just hoping that you're sending enough mailers that you get that one time where they're like, you know what, I'm done, I'm fed up, I want to sell it. This is the postcard that came in, it's on top, I'm going to give them a call. Or they've kept them and they're going to call all of them and they're going to compete for the top dollar. So it gets a little bit difficult. We try and narrow it down as much as possible, find those pain points, find those things that are going to work really well, find those lists that other people aren't touching. There's less competition. It's more work up front, but it's more deals on the back end. So, and I think Randy's screen went off. So I'll go ahead and start in on the next thing too. So we also try to do, it's typically going to be 7 touches for direct mailers. So I also will have discussions with our investors where it's like, they'll be like, look, I've sent out mailers for 2 months now. And like, I'm not getting anything. So it's a waste of money. I can't keep doing it. And I'm like, look, statistically, the average it takes is 7 touches before somebody shoots you a call. That's 7 times that you're sending a postcard to somebody before you even receive a contact. That has nothing to do with actually getting the deal. That just has to do with you're starting the conversation after you've sent them 7 direct mailers. So that means that it has to be pretty consistent. The best thing to do is typically on a 2 to 3 week cycle. So that way they're constantly getting it. You're constantly staying top of mind. It's not such a delay that if it's 7 months, that can take a really long time. Whereas if it's every 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to be all done in about 3 or 4 months. Once you get that phone call, you can kind of work on what works for you. We always try to build rapport.
Hey, Eric, let me interrupt. So yes, I say the same thing to the investor clients I work with. Like I always ask like, okay, what's your budget? Right. And if they're like, well, I have, $3,000 for the next 6 months. Okay, great. Well, then let's pick a list. Like you said, let's small enough where you can hit those people 7 times with your budget, or in this case, probably more like 3 times within the 3-month period to start. Right.
Yeah.
Ideally it's more, but I always say you'd rather hit them more often and less mailers than trying to do a mass mailing. So that's like, it's the same message I share with all my investor clients, but you got to start with end in mind. What's the budget? How many mailers will that get you? And then do the numbers, right? Divide that up by 6 or 7 touches, and that will tell you how big of a list you can really go after. And then that will tell you how niche do you want to get. And usually it's going to be a nice and small list. And I agree with what you're saying. But one thing I was going to say something. Oh, where do you get your list? Do you like, we get ours from our title company very often. A lot of my investors also have access to software like RealFlow is one. There's many others I can't think of the top of my head, but where do you get your list?
See, we do title company. We've used PropStream, which is what a lot of investors.
That's it. PropStream. Yeah.
PropStream is what a lot of people use. So that one, I would say, it might be a little bit tougher because you're pulling the same data as everybody else. Batch leads. One of the things we're doing right now too, and this actually works out really great. I just got a phone call today from somebody who owns a 4-unit. Our website, it's housesandcincy.com, and then we have a bunch of other websites locally that push into them as funnels. And it comes back to direct mailing. I'm not going to bring in websites into this, but so we'll get a bunch of Google pay-per-click leads where it's just the address. There's nothing else. So we'll go through and pull on the address, and we get the owner's name, their number if we can, and then we try and pull like emails and stuff. And then what Katie, my wife, will do is she gets out a piece of paper that's got a letterhead of Eric Gross Group on it, and she writes a personal letter to them. And we might get like 30 or 40 a month, and it does take some time, but it's a couple hours total work. So the first thing that we send out to them is a personalized letter, and then it's addressed to our neighbor and it's their address. And then it's a letter just, hey, we had noticed that you had shopped or checked your value on our website. Can we help? Can we send you more detailed comps if you are considering selling? So we detail it out, send the letter out. And then every 2 weeks after that, we send out direct mailers. So after that personal letter goes out, they're just receiving regular postcards with our faces on it, market updates, just solds, everything like that. I had somebody who called me earlier today who's looking to sell a 4-unit because he's like, I clicked on it. I saw the value online. I have your letter right here. So I just want to go into more detail. We had about an hour conversation with him. So if somebody doesn't have money for direct mailers and you don't have $3,000 to $5,000, do some driving for dollars, look around, find houses that have overgrown grass, holes in the roof, windows are falling out, busted, anything like that. Go home, takes a little bit more time, a little bit more work. And reverse prospect it, find who owns it, find what the current address is, sit down. I can't write the letters, otherwise I would. My handwriting is chicken scratch. So Katie does all the writing. You make it personal and you go, hey, we have some interest. Either if you're looking to purchase it, then you go, hey, we have interest. We're local investors. We love your property. We're looking at, being able to make it a place where people want to rent. We love the community. This is what we love about it. But like for us as agents, we're like, we have clients. You send it out and it's personal. And I can guarantee you, instead of getting like 15 direct mailers that are all the exact same. When they get a personal letter, it sticks with them. And we've had a ton of investors get deals that way.
That brings me, dude, I remember when I was running CT Homes, this is like going back to 2011, 12, we would have interns drive around a particular area. We would lay out the map of the streets we wanted to drive, and we would try to cover all the areas within a particular city, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
And then we would have them do what you just said, take a photo of, like, they were looking for the worst house on the block. They would take a photo, and then later, you know, the send out cards, you probably heard of send out cards, where you can basically customize your postcards. And it's kind of like a network marketing type company, but for direct mail. So then we would log into our send out cards account, and the intern would, and then they would upload the photos of that person's property, and then the postcard would come in, and they would see their house on the postcard.
It's personal.
Right? With our message on the back. Like, it was gold. Like, but we didn't do like thousands of these. Like you said, like, you do a few at a time, it adds up, right? And you just keep adding. Even if you add 10 to your list per week, imagine if you do that consistently every single week, how big your list will be, because you're not just going to mail to them once. The first time they might get the postcard. Maybe the next letter was going to be a yellow letter. Maybe the next one is going to be something different, right? But you're just now keep adding and adding to your list, and all of a sudden your 10 is now 1,000. Right?
Yeah, and we honestly, like, I'm open to admitting mistakes. We were throwing away these Google pay-per-click leads at first, the seller ones, because we weren't paying for them. If somebody went into the website, the way it does is it takes at like 6 different values online, and it gives them an average for what their house would be worth. So we get a lot of like looky-loos who are just typing it in, and it's pretty much compiling like their Zillow, their Redfin, all of those values, and then it's spitting out to them and saying, based off of the 6 values we can find online, your house is worth $450, and it might be anywhere from a range of $400 to $500. So people would get that, and then they would, once they back out, they don't put their information in, we'd lose it. So I just honestly, I deleted it, or we try and reverse it, prospect it, and I'd do a phone call. Data was 50-50 sometimes. So sometimes it's a great phone call, sometimes it's a terrible phone call. So then I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, we're just going to start doing direct mailers. And Katie's like, well, I'll just do personal like letters to kick it off and see what happens. So, I mean, she might put an hour into it a day, but as an agent, an hour into it a day, if we get 3, 4, 5, 6 listings a month off of it, it's huge. Now imagine doing that as an investor, and you're getting 3, 4, 5, 6 deals that you're not having to go on market. You're getting them at a great discount. I mean, if you take the long run of you owning those properties, whether it's a flip or a buy and hold, your hourly pay for doing those letters is probably something absurd. I mean, it's probably like $5,000 an hour, because, you know, when you're holding those buy and holds and you're getting the pay down and you're getting all of the tax benefits. So there's some like really cool ways to do it. But I actually, and I'll share my screen for this, we have a couple direct mailer. Here we go. We have a couple direct mailer examples. Let me see if I can get this set up for you guys. I cannot see my other part of my screen. So let's go. Man, Randy, now I see what you're talking about. This is I'm on the spot on this, trying to get this up. There we go. Can everybody see my screen? See it?
We could see your screen, but see if you can make it. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So this is Turnkey. This is the company that we do flips with up here.
So right now we see just there you go. Now we see what you're talking about. Okay. Got it.
Perfect.
Yep.
So this is just a basic one, and it's different for every single one. The way we send out mailers is we do driving for dollars, and then we circle prospect around every flip we're doing. So if we're doing a flip, we take 100 doors in the nearest quarter mile, and we send out to them. And then we also have parameters that we were pulling up on PropStream. They've had to own it since 2015 because then they had the equity in there, so we didn't have to put high equity. They had to own it since 2015. They couldn't have refinanced in like the past 2 years. Had to be like a 3-bed, couldn't be older than like 1930. So it was like our normal buy box. And we've actually gotten a couple of deals off of this. Just it being a basic card, we had a lot of people that called that were super interested, but just had no clue what it had to do. So it was a good conversation starter. Hey, I have
So
this.
this is more of a general one that you would mail to a larger audience, you think, or still like a niche you guys just did?
No, this one's larger audience. So this one
Yeah.
isn't tailored to anybody. This is just a generic mailer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then what we would do was we would tailor it. Like if we were in a certain neighborhood, we'd tailor the postcard to the neighborhood. If we were trying to hit like a certain list, we would try and send it to, you want to kind of tailor it to the people you're sending it to. This one was we're just sending it all around, or we're circle prospecting a neighborhood and we're just trying to get 5 miles out, 100 doors. And then what we do, we actually had our number connected to a smartphone number, and then it would go to me. So it would ring in, it would go to a recorded line, it would let them know it was recorded so we could track to see how the conversations were going. And then also if they were discussing the property, we can go back without having to call back and be like, hey, I totally missed when you said this. Was it a 3-bed, 2-bed? So this would be a call in. They would just be like, hey, we got your mailer. What does it typically mean? And my conversation would always be, hey, we're a local company. We invest in properties. We can give you a cash offer for your home, but we're also licensed realtors. So if you're thinking about selling and the cash offer doesn't fit, we can also let you know what the market looks like, how we can get your home sold for top dollar, and run you through multiple options.
So Eric, is Turnkey your company, or is that an investor you're talking about?
Yeah, it's a company. It's the flipping guy I work with here.
Okay, so when you guys do that together, he wants you to do the calls on his behalf. Is that how you guys set it up? So you're like almost you're like an extension of his investment company?
Yeah, so me and my agents and like our team, I offer for investors if they want, we'll intake calls. Because to me as an agent, if I can have that conversation, for one, we cold call anyways. So if I can have that conversation with the person, if I can build the rapport, be the one that goes out there. I understand not all agents are going to do that, but I prefer to intake the leads. I prefer to get an idea. And then, if you have a VA running it.
That's amazing, dude. I mean, that's a huge value add. So if you are an agent and you want to work with investors, like that alone, you could be like, look, you spend the money, Mr. Investor, and I'll take the calls on your behalf. Right now, you basically in most cases, you should be able to negotiate that. So you don't actually have to spend the money. And because like there's another way of doing is where you co-market together. Right. Yeah. And you guys split the cost. But I think if you're bringing the value of taking on the calls, which I agree, I think there is a massive benefit to you, Eric, right? As long as you are trying, of course, to get the investor in front of that client with a cash offer, which why wouldn't you if you have your the financial incentive is set up correctly for you, right? And I'm guessing if he would buy the property, either you make some money on the front end, but then you definitely get the listing on the back end. And then if you do get the listing, which is actually a higher probability that it's a listing, then you win. And then what do you give to the investor in this case if you just end up getting a straight up listing?
So the guy that I work with is also licensed. So we would typically do a referral fee and it would just differ. But it got to the point where we were taking in so many leads and I was handling so much cold calling. It was just, if you did it, it was just a basis by basis. Like if it was small enough, he was like, look, just take the listing. I'm not worried about a referral fee. And then we'd kind of go that way. Make sure you have a CRM set up if you do this. Like if you're going to do direct mailers, make sure you have something where you can track, follow up. It doesn't have to be expensive. We've spent a ton of money into our CRM, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So make sure you have a CRM that you can follow up with. And then, if you're an agent, like I just met with an investor yesterday and I'm like, he doesn't have a CRM set up. He's a newer guy, but he wants to put money in. He's super driven. I'm like, look, I'll use my CRM. You'll have your own tag that'll go in. So if they call a specific number, it'll automatically tag you in our CRM and we'll follow up with the leads for you. So, we are incentivized to do the cash offer. But at the same time, if I meet with somebody and they're like, I don't want to sell my house for cash or that's too low of an offer, I'm not gonna be like, cool, thank you for the time. Have a great day. Bye. If they're like, I don't want to do a cash offer, that's too low. I go, completely understand it. Have you thought about listing? I can let you know what this home would be worth on the market and the condition it's in and if you do updates, and then it
And
becomes
do you go with your investor to that appointment, or do you already know basically the numbers that they work off? You got a repair estimator that you can use as a general kind of idea, so you can analyze it yourself. Like, where are you at on that, or how did you start? That would be probably a better question.
Yeah, so it definitely was started differently. When I started, I knew a lot. I had done construction. I had done volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. I had done my own rehabs. I had helped my wife's dad do rehabs, but I didn't understand the numbers that he was looking for. So the first, I'd say probably like 10 deals that we got, I would go to the property with him and I would just go, what are you seeing? Because his contractors have every contractor has different pricing. So, and he uses the same 2 or 3 contractors. So I picked up on his pricing really quickly. So I was like, okay, we're running roughly $4 to $5 a square foot on a floor. I'll do 5. If it's 1,500 square feet, it's $7,500 to lay floor. A new roof, depending on the size of it, it's probably going to run us 8 to 10 grand. If there's damaged OSB board and stuff like that, we might be a little bit higher. So I'm just super conservative. I'm like, I'm going to bake in a 12 grand roof replacement. It's realistically probably going to be 8 grand. But I don't want my investors to lose money. So if my rehab budget comes in, and I'm always, not to be cocky about it, I'm always about like 5,000 within the contractor in terms of total budget. Because like I talk to them too, and I'm like, what are you seeing? What did I miss afterwards? But starting out, we would do it together, and he was like, he would just bake in or we would just discuss it.
Yeah.
Like I have to be all in 70% of the ARV. I'm like, okay, well, I've got comps at 300. That means we can be all in 210. Yep, exactly. Cool. So I've got a rehab of 60,000 in here. Yep. Okay. So
what I'm hearing is basically you want to get to the point. If you are an agent, basically working with investors, or you're an investor and you have an assistant, going out looking at properties, you want to get to the point where they are trained enough working of a repair estimator that you've created that gives them a bit of a guide, so they can quickly go through it, add it up, boom, 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 and be done with it. So anyone really could do it. So doesn't have to be you as the principal or you as the investor principal doing all the analysis. The agent can do it, the assistant can do it, or acquisition guy could do it. That's how we did it eventually.
Yes. And there's definitely times where like I'm I think it's just part of being human. This is a really large investment. That's the thing with this. So there's times where like I'm realistically not as sure about it as I should be. Like I'm like, okay, comps are 290. I'm pretty confident on that. But I'm walking this house and there's some moisture in the basement. Doesn't look major. Do we price in a French drain? Do we price in waterproofing? Am I missing something? So then, he would have a GC come out, or he would have a foundation guy come out. I'd meet him out there and figure out what's going on. Or we would just automatically bake it into our offer and say, okay, crap, we don't know what's going on in that basement. Let's say 12,000 for the basement, because that's our average water remediation and mold, and then waterproofing. And then if we don't spend it, good. So, but yeah, I'd say go out there with them as an agent. And that's definitely been huge for me, that knowledge, because I also carry that through with my retail clients. And it's a huge benefit because I can say this is what it's going to cost, and I have the connections to the contractors. And then for my investors, I'm just going to tell you how it is when we're walking those properties. And I just walked a duplex with a client of mine the other day. And I'm like, it's aluminum siding, it's less than ideal. It's not worst case scenario. It's in kind of rough shape. You have some dents. An agent walked behind me. I'm kidding you, not kidding you. And she goes, this is vinyl siding and it looks to be in pretty good shape. And my client just like stared at me and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like that's for sure vinyl. Like that's metal. It's got dents in it. And it's just like, most agents don't know what they're talking about. They just go around and have it. So it's a huge value add. And then we have this one as well.
Okay, good. Yeah. Look, continue, because we got it's 1:28. So maybe another 10 minutes, whatever you have left. And then of course we're gonna continue this, like Eric said, because this is a deep topic. So yeah, we're gonna continue this conversation also next week. But go ahead.
Okay. And then this is the last one. This was when we were with Keller, or we switched it to EXP for this one, but it was when we were with Keller Williams and everything was branded red and black. And this was just it's a similar style. It has both of our branding on it. And we would do different stuff. We'd put different photos on there. We actually had three different, after we got a property, we had three different scenarios that we had for every property. We circle prospected it like normal. Then we would do a co-marketing where it was, hey, we're getting close to finishing the rehab. Here's our agent if you know anybody looking to get in the neighborhood. So that way somebody could say, hey, I want a cash offer for my house, or hey, I have a best friend that wants to move into the neighborhood. They had two options. And then the final one would be strictly retail. Hey, the house is finished. Open house is this Saturday, 11 to 2. Please come join us. Let us know what you think. And we'd get a lot of the homeowners around there who would come and say, thank you so much for flipping this house. It was an eyesore for 15 years. We love it. We love what you've done. Can we have, what contractors did you use? So you can kind of be a benefit there as well. And I'll stop sharing with that.
So one thing I would say is, another way of doing it is if you have a listing for an investor, right? If you're an agent and you have a listing for an investor, and this is common for me, like I list investor flips, right? So if I would have a listing coming up knowing that the property was just bought by an investor, it's going to be rehab. What I did for a while, and I need to get back into this actually, now that I think about it, because it works, is neighbors are curious. They're always nosy. Like, oh man, that eyesore, who bought it? What's going on there? Right? So you basically have an assistant or an agent on your team walk that area and leave door knock or leave a letter stating, hey, by the way, so-and-so company bought this property. This will be a fully renovated home within the next 60 days or so. I just want to let you know that I'm here. If there's any issues at all, please reach out to me. I am the extension of this company, CD Homes, on our case. I am a licensed agent. I'll be listing this property when it's finished, but I want to make sure you have an avenue to reach out if there's any issues, if the contractors are leaving a mess, if whatever it is. So you're coming off from an angle of like, hey, like we want to make sure that we preserve your neighborhood and that there is no problems happening. And it has nothing to do with selling, right?
That's a great idea.
Right. So now they're like, oh, okay, cool. So now we checked one box for them. Now they know who bought it. Now because that's what they're curious about. Two, they're like, oh, I can reach out to Randy if this freaking contractor is leaving the front messy and they're working at 10 p.m. at night. Who knows, right? Like anything can happen, right? And then in there, I would also say, oh, by the way, this will be one of the better properties now on the block, fully renovated. So if you have any friends or neighbors that you would like to have to buy this, like, let me know, right? And if you're thinking about selling, this is another thing I would say. If you're thinking about selling, you might consider waiting because we're going to set the new high price for your neighborhood.
It's a good idea.
That's it. So like, I don't even ask for a listing. I don't really talk about, oh, work with me. Do you need to sell? It's more about me giving them tips and ideas, but obviously indirectly what I'm trying to say is like, I'm here to help you. Right. And if you have buyers, like send them my way. So as an agent, think about how you can leverage one flip opportunity to turn it into more business for yourself. Right. And of course, on the same thing, you could even say like, oh, if you know anybody else that needs a cash buyer, my investor is always looking. Right. Because this has to be a team collaboration, right? This is you doing a dance with your investor. So the messaging is constantly synergetic between you and them. So you're always mentioning the investor and the investor is always mentioning you as the agent because there will be opportunities, but you gotta have a structure set up with your investor. So everybody's incentivized financially, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And if someone is not licensed, if your investor client is not licensed, right, which many of my clients are not licensed, and they get me a listing because of, if I get a listing because of their flip, right, or the co-marketing that we do, then all I say is like, look, I can't pay you a referral fee legally. However, I can pay for your marketing. So I would ask them, hey, can you send me an invoice for the next batch of marketing that you do, and I'll cover your cost. And I would just ask him to send me an invoice for the amount that I'm willing to pay, which would equal to the referral fee.
Yeah.
Right. and I'm legally allowed to pay for someone's marketing.
Yeah.
If that makes, so that's how you get around, referral fees not being legal, but I could absolutely pay for marketing. So if I'm willing to pay for my investor to market, because I know that I'm also being promoted through that marketing, I will pay for it. And that's how we do it. I just need an invoice.
Yeah.
So
I love the idea of sending it out to neighbors, because like, I think a lot of times as investors, we forget that when you're flipping a house or you're doing a rehab, it rarely looks and sounds great. There's a 40-foot dumpster in the yard. You've got drywall in the driveway and everything like that. And I mean, it tends to happen. It's really hard to keep a job site clean and quiet all the time. So
that could work. Just another thing that could work only if your investors are pulling permits. Because if your investors, if some investors, are not pulling permits, and it became actually very common in San Diego during COVID because how backed up the city inspection departments got, where it literally, you just couldn't get a permit for months. So guess what ended up happening? Like, investors just did it without. And then you can't do any of the things I just mentioned, because the investors don't want the attention. They don't want any attention to that property. So then you go back to other avenues, which would be direct mail, targeting areas. But if your investor is fully doing, everything legit, pulling the permits, then you have to do what I just told you, telling you it works.
Yeah. No, I love it. And we've had neighbors call, like they find our numbers from somewhere and they call and they go, hey, the contractors need to come out and cut the grass. So if you send that out there, you're kind of letting them know, like, hey, I care about the neighborhood. I care about you as a person. And then you can also, if they do give you a call, hey, I'm really sorry about that, we'll get it worked out. And it's just whenever you can kind of help people. So
and then you don't finish there. So then as soon as that rehab is bought, you get in front of those neighbors with that letter. If they're not home, you just leave it, right? But then you do a VIP open house only for neighbors. So now you have another reason to go to the same neighbor and be like, hey, remember me? I sent you that letter about blah, 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 buying that property. Well, we're almost finished. We have scheduled a neighborhood only open house. We would love to give you a first look at the property, right? So now you're doing a neighborhood only open house just for the same people that you just, 2 months earlier, or a month and a half earlier, sent that letter, right? And then guess what? Then you list the property. Then you promote it yourself to them again, right? You could literally create like a 3-touch campaign to the same people, right?
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with you begging them for business, right? But trust me, they see how well you do this. And that's how realtors, when they tell you like, off one listing, I should be getting another listing or two and a buyer or two. That's how it happens, right? Because when other people see excellence being executed for a seller, in this case, the investor, that's the realtor they want to work with, because they're like, holy cow, look what he's doing for this investor client. What if he did that for us? Imagine he did all this for us, right? They start envisioning themselves using you and getting that exposure like you just did for a friend down the road, right? So anyway, that works. Do it.
No, I love it. And anytime we can, those touches through direct mail, anytime you can have them, that's the way you set it up, like even as an agent and an investor. So, all right, I think we are good we got about 10 minutes for breakout rooms.
Yeah, at least. So I can do it. Or you want to practice, since I'm here together, I'm not going to be on next week. So you'll be running the show. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Do it into 2 breakout rooms.
Got it.
So again, if it's your first time here, we're doing breakout rooms. You're going to see us on your screen. You're going to accept to be put into a breakout room. The idea behind this is, for one, build a better community, get to know each other, but also ask, what maybe you learned just in the last 30 minutes, or what you're planning on implementing, or what you're already doing around this topic that we're talking about. Or maybe there's something you need. What's the need, right? That maybe others can give you advice on. So we're going to give you about minimum 1.5 to 2 minutes each, depending on how many people are in a room. But that's kind of we found that the 1 minute is too little. So it's going to be a minimum of 1.5 to 2 minutes that you get to speak. But please do not hog your spot, right? Don't take 5 minutes. Okay. Just be mindful of other people in your group. So everybody gets a chance to speak. So go ahead, Eric.
Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and create it. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. Okay, there we go. Everybody is going. There we go. Nice.
Okay. So usually now I
got it. Cool.
awesome.
I think we have everybody back. So before we talk about what you guys talked about there, we wanted to do this last week, and I think we're going to do it every week going forward. Don't feel like you have to. If you want to put in the chat just like something you want to get done by the next meeting, by next week, we call it sprint goals when I do my business coaching. If there's something you want to get done in the next 7 days and you're willing to share it in the chat, go ahead and put it down there. And I'll take a photo and I'll follow up in the Facebook group. But we call them sprint goals. It's like, this is going to move my business in the next 7 days. Maybe it's something small, maybe it's something big, but then we'll follow up and there's some accountability there.
But keep it simple so it's achievable. Don't
Yeah.
like, say like, I'm going to write a book in 7 days.
Yeah. I mean, maybe like I could do a coloring book possibly in 7 days. I think I got that. All right, cool. Who wants to share based off of their Manny, you should be cold calling 15 leads a day. No, I'm just kidding, man. He's on my team, so that's why I said that. Who is wanting to share how the breakout room went, what you guys talked about? Anybody? Any positive? Nobody?
I'll go.
There you go.
Jadelle.
Hey, so yeah, I just shared, I had Kevin, Aldo, Tim, Emmanuel in there. I shared that I've done the direct mailing. I mean, I started doing it back in the short sale time, and I was just talking about doing it again. I do have a template that I typed up and I make it personal. I put a personal note on it, personally address the envelopes, and I'm getting ready to start doing it again because it's a wacky market. And just to find even off market fixers, I have done the actual driving by. I've trained my kids, my kids, Randy, that they know I'm like, ooh, look at that property, get the address as we're driving by. So, we do that as well. And I'll send off a letter, and it does work. That's how I got working with investors back in 2013, as Randy knows. They called on my short sale fixer and basically, started in with their spiel of, oh, da, da. I'm like, you know what? I don't even need to hear it. Just write the offer. Let's see what the lender says. And that's how they got their first deal, and they made over 100,000 on it. So that's what got me working with investors a lot. But that it's a real deal. It does work, and I'll spend a day of it, doing it, getting some mailers out, and it works. Yeah. And also going to the neighbors, we do that all the time. I'll take a Saturday morning after closing on a fixer, and I'll have like a little flyer of what we do with my name, number, for any trouble or anything else. And I'll go and knock the neighborhood on a Saturday morning. And if they're not there, I'll leave the letter underneath their mat, but actually introduce myself personally. So they have a face to the name. And sometimes it leads to some bugaboo neighbors that will text you every other day, but you know what? At least they're staying in contact. You never know.
Yeah, I think I forgot to mention. So yeah, you want to add that too. Like the 3 touches really is going to be once the investor buys the property, so you can inform the neighbors. Then right before it goes live, you do a exclusive neighbor open. Then when you sell it, you go back to some people and pick one highlight. Did you maybe sell it at 10,000 above market value in the area? Did you sell it in 3 days? Did you have 15 offers? Whatever it is, pick that one highlight and get some attention to that in that postcard or the letter that you're going to drop off. So that's the 3 touches that you want to do. Anyway, so thanks for reminding me about that, Jadelle.
I will say I'll give one of my golden nuggets. I just don't want everybody to steal it. If you do an open house and you do paper sign in, take the paper sign in after the open house and you've accepted an offer, and it works when the market's like this. Go to the neighbors, door knock with the open house sign in, and go, 30 people came to our open house, 1 person got the house, there's 29 other people looking in your neighborhood, and we have gotten listings off that because they're like, oh crap, 29 other people are looking to buy in your neighborhood. So if you do want to move, we'll start calling these 29 other people tomorrow and let them know you're listing. So just don't do that if you're in the Cincinnati area. You can do it everywhere else. No, I'm just kidding. What else does anybody have to add? Anybody?
For me, what's it called? Jadelle actually had some really good takes when she was explaining to us. She actually has templates and stuff also she's gonna send over. But it's funny that we're having this conversation today because like I literally was just talking to one of my clients 2 days ago, and he's went to the county the county and got like a bunch of lists of the areas that he invest in, and he asked me if I can, cold call a couple of them. He's just been sending me them daily. So I've started on that, but just to see where it goes, not sure yet, but it's just kind of an extra thing to my extra cold calling I'm doing on my team as well.
Absolutely.
I had one other thing to add that Emmanuel reminded me of is I shared another thing is if you're doing direct mailing, be thoughtful of the situation. So my example was this is my mother-in-law has been in her house for 60 plus years. And she just recently got at least 5 letters. My father-in-law died in 2011. And all these letters are addressed to him and saying, so sorry for your husband's passing. And I'm going, this is 12 years ago. It's 12 years ago as of January. And it really upset her. So be thoughtful and really look into your leads you're getting from your farms.
Absolutely.
So, because I actually called those agents for her and said, this is, really kind of insensitive. The wording of it was really insensitive. So I think I shared one with Brian Randy because he was just like, wow. So.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
Yep. All right. What else do we have? We still got 5 minutes.
Joe, what are you doing, Joe, out there in San Bernardino, Victorville?
I'm just working hard, man, trying to put in the work and see what comes out. But no, we were talking about the breakouts, and we talked a lot about CT homes and how Randy likes to help people work with real estate agents or with investors so they don't have to keep chasing deals, and how EXP, through the company we've established a tribe, and how great our upline is. That's a lot of what we talked about. But for me right now, man, I'm doing the cold calls. I'm going through the database. I'm looking at processes. I'm looking at drip campaigns, all the different things that are on the back end, just trying to tighten everything up and keep trying to get in front of clients. I've joined a couple new social groups and just to meet more people and continue the things, but or continue to increase exposure and meeting people. But
hey, Joe, I know what you do a lot, and I know one of the things that you get consistent is land listings, right?
Mhm.
And I remember like you shared with me like, oh yeah, I got this one investor that just keeps giving me land listings that they have. Like that's an example, right, of what we're talking about, like repeat business.
Absolutely. So thinking outside of the box, I work with one guy right now. I've got 26 listings from him. They're all vacant land. They're all vacant land. They started, they're as low as 10 grand, and then they go up to 900 grand, right? And so they're not bad, but the best thing about lot listings is you get buyers, you get investors, people that are looking to build houses, people that want to build houses, but at the same time, it just keeps he's got a whole different business mindset, right? Going into the investor idea. This guy buys land, he does his marketing, he sends out his mailers, he sends out he does cold calling, he does those things to certain areas. And then he's able to secure these vacant properties. A lot of times they're absentee owners or they're other things. And he's able to secure these listings for a couple $1,000s or under market value. And then as soon as he gets them, he calls me and we put it on the market for under market value, just under market value. His whole idea is to sell this piece of property that he just acquired within 90 days. All right. He wants to sell it within 90 days. So we do just that. We put it right on the market. He pays me the standard, it's a little bit of a reduced commission rate on it because he gives me so many listings, but I split whatever I get with the buyer's agent, and he literally is flipping land within 90 days, no inspections, no appraisals, no, it's all cash. You don't have to worry about a lender. There's none of that involved. And maybe he's turning 10, 15, 30, 20, whatever it is on each of these deals. but it's just flowing. It's just flowing.
And Joe,
flowing.
and
And
how
the
did that start for
competition,
you?
right? The competition that you guys have with so many other people trying to buy homes or query the crappy home on the block. He doesn't have hardly any of that. There's just not a lot of it out there.
How did that start for you? I'm wondering, like, how did you meet this investor?
So I met this investor. Actually, I was working with another buyer, a guy that was taking me all over the place, looking at every type of property from wineries down in San Diego to cattle ranches out in like North Palmdale and Kern County and everything in between. So I was just taking them out every weekend and showing them properties. We found a few properties here in my local area. They were both owned by the same seller. We ended up reaching terms on both of those deals. And then the seller had told me that he liked the way that I operate and wanted to see if I might be interested in listing a few properties for him. And that was 2.5 years ago and about 80 or 90 deals ago. So,
What?
yeah.
Holy moly. That's an amazing case study, dude. Yeah. Anyway, that's, I mean, you heard it right there. Like that, if you're out there and you do the right work, you just never know. But you got to also keep an eye out for those type of opportunities, because I know Joe lists a lot of land. And when you list land, you're not listing it at the regular 2.5% on the listing side. You usually list it at a 5% on the listing side, and then you offer 5% on the buyer side. So it's usually between 8 to 10% listing agreements because of the lower price point.
He gets that's flat 8%, and I split it 4 and 4 with the buyer side. But half of these deals I end up double ending, so I'm getting 8% on them, which is not bad.
It's awesome.
For more insights and to join the Investor Agent Nation community, visit investoragentnation.com. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star rating to help Randy and Eric continue delivering valuable content that resonates with you. Thanks for listening to the Investor Agent Nation podcast.